Welcome. Thanks for joining us. If you are enjoying this content, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps joy travel. Good morning, welcome, 1,000 welcomes. And we are meditating today on the subject of radiant strength. So I have some teachings, have some stories, I have some invitations, but I would like to invite each of us to feel directly the energy of radiant strength. So if you're just joining us now, from the top of the meditation, we've been meditating on allowing unconditional love to flow through the heart and also through the spiritual eye, so between and above the eyebrows at the center of the forehead, and then also at the solar plexus. So that's above the navel and below the bottom of the rib cage. So anytime that in your human experience you have a feeling of fear, or you have a feeling of bracing yourself in relation to a relationship, a conversation, an experience, anything in time and space that you're witnessing or observing, anything that you're observing in yourself, this is a really wonderful energy center. And if you're listening, I'm placing my hand above my navel and below my rib cage. Fill this energy center with boundless strength, with divine blessings, divine light, divine love, and invite divine light, divine blessings, divine love to pour through this energy center into time and space. So what this does is it sort of builds a bridge that helps us to be here in time and space. When we connect with the heart, we're sort of connected. And on the spiritual eye level, we're sort of connected with that in us which is eternal. That in us which is eternal is never afraid of anything. It's totally limitless, and so it doesn't contract. It doesn't have a need to brace itself in relation to anything. It's not fearful, it's not judgmental. And then we're aware of ourselves on a human level, chances are. You still are aware of having personal dislikes, personal likes. Your chances are you're still aware that you get along with some personalities more easily than you get along with other personalities. I see people sort of taking a deep breath and smiling and laughing with sympathy and respect for themselves. So the more that you can bring unconditional love into this energy center, and again, if you're listening, my hand is above the navel, below the rib cage, the more that boundless love of the eternal will be able to broadcast through you into time and space. So when limitless love is able to broadcast through us in time and space, I'm inviting you to feel it in your body. You feel your feet contact the earth in a steadier, more stable, more calm, more balanced, more secure, more confident way. And I'm actually inviting you to feel what that feels like in your body, feeling your feet contact the earth when you're radiating love through the solar plexus, radiating limitless love through the solar plexus. And you actually can feel there's a difference in the energy flow that is able to flow from the base of the spine up the length of the spine. So you're more connected with limitless renewal, resourcefulness, inspiration and connection, bless you, insights, awareness, the energy of healing, the energy of calm, the energy of forgiveness. So you're welcome just to kind of keep your eyes closed and keep enjoying that feeling of radiating limitless love through the solar plexus. I encourage you to do that. It's deeply strengthening to the human self. I'm going to start sharing some scriptures and some teachings and some stories. Always what we are doing is inviting ourselves to let go of any barrier between us and divine boundless love, divine radiant strength. So divine boundless love and radiant strength are everywhere always. So if we step out of feeling connected to that, what we're inviting ourselves to do is to consciously open and connect. The moment that we realize that we've stepped out of contact with that energy of radiant strength. When we are in contact with radiant strength, we're in contact with divine wisdom, divine forgiveness, divine awareness, divine clarity. It is thought-free awareness. So it is that awareness which is present that is beyond words. So it is direct knowing, the energy of direct solutions presenting themselves to you, sharing themselves with you in a way that otherwise would not be possible. And the Bhagavad Gita encourages all of us to live in this radiant strength always. The divine in the Bhagavad Gita, so this is the divine voice of wisdom and effervescent realization within each of us, says, "In the strong, I am strength, devoid of selfish desires and personal attachment." So this is what we've been meditating all along. In the strong, I am strength, which is divine. I am strength, which is beyond attachment, beyond aversion. I am strength, which is beyond judgment. I am strength, which is beyond fear. I am strength, which is beyond personality. I am strength, which is beyond words, beyond human concepts, beyond limitations. And so this is the strength we are each invited to access always and to be always. And so just give yourself permission to notice this is beyond human strength. And what that means is each of us is invited to lovingly work with our human self. If our human self is kicking and screaming and resisting at any point, and lovingly say to our human self, it's okay, the divine is holding you, the divine has got this, the divine will be the calm in the midst of the storm through you as you open to the divine, to let the divine be the calm in the midst of the storm through you. True story, contemporary story. A mother said that she lived through one of the worst hurricanes to make landfall in this particular country. She had grown up in hurricane country. She had lived through many, many, many hurricanes. And she said the thing that allowed her to be calm in the midst of this terrifying hurricane, which was uprooting 80% of the trees around them and flinging them around, it was her kids. It was her love for her kids. Let her stay calm and steady and cheerful through that storm. She said, I couldn't do it for myself. And I had no idea that it was really possible. But I asked the divine to be calm and cheerful and steady through me for my kids. And she said, the divine did it. Her kids felt her calm, her cheerfulness, and her steadiness through that storm. And they were all fine. So the physical area around them, 80% of it was uprooted, 80% of it was destroyed. They were fine. And so in the midst of any storm, and we're talking not only outer storms, we're talking storms of emotion, we're talking storms of events, we're talking storms of whatever it is that we're observing in ourselves or others, we can be that calm in the midst of the storm. If we can't do it for ourselves, do it for those we love. And if we're having a hard time connecting with that energy of calm strength, ask the divine to do it through us. The divine can do it through us. And then we let go of limitation and we simply allow divine radiant strength to share through us. It will be so as we make ourselves available to us. It's simply the laws of energy. Each of us is always connected to limitless radiant strength. It's only ever our sweet, adorable human self that feels disconnected. So we're only ever working lovingly with our sweet, adorable, radiant human self, reminding our human self, it's okay. That energy that brought this world into existence, it's still here. It's taking care of all of us. It's definitely taking care of you. No matter what it is that your human self is experiencing, this is always so. And so we're simply opening and we're asking unconditional love to share through us. As unconditional love is able to share only through us. So each of us has a signature song, a signature vibration or frequency, and the divine wants nothing more than for us to be open-hearted and say to the divine, be calm, be strong, be unconditional love through me. Here I am open and I will let go of any barrier, any limitation, any doubt, any resistance, any fear, anything that blocks that sharing. And then it happens. The divine does this through us. So each of us is always saying to the divine, I'm reading from the Upanishads, from the Svetashvatara Upanishad here. Each of us is always saying to the divine, this is the human self speaking in this particular teaching, thou art eternal. Therefore, seeking to attain immortality, even though living in this world of duality, I aspire to realize my oneness with thee. O thou Almighty, always inspire me with thy wisdom and bliss. And so that's exactly what we just said. It's the human self reaching out to the infinite, saying, I'm here, I'm willing to let go of anything except immortal oneness, immortal light, divine wisdom, divine bliss. I'll let it go. And then we make ourselves available, and immortal wisdom and bliss will be here and will share through us. The scripture goes on, by thy power, sustain my body, senses, mind, intellect, and life. Let the faculties of the senses harmonize with the powers of the mind, and let the mind be illumined by the divinity of the self. So I'm just pointing out, this is a teaching that says every single aspect of your physical existence comes from the divine. How amazing is that? To greet all of your senses as gifts from the divine. And then what this says is invite them to be harmonized with this divine wisdom, with this divine bliss, with this divine love. And let all of yourself be illumined by this divine energy. So let your senses be filled with light that comes from the divine. Let your heart and your mind and your life be filled with light that comes from the divine. When this happens, O thou omnipotent one, with my whole being, I offer myself in adoration of thee. And so I actually cannot read that last sentence without crying. And so if I start crying, that's why. But I'm going to say it again. O thou omnipotent one, with my whole being, I offer myself in adoration of thee. This is what each of us is invited to do and to be. We are invited to be an outpouring of adoring for the divine. And if we're having a hard time with this, ask the divine. Be willing and say to the divine, I am willing to be the energy of adoring. I am willing to adore boundless love and God's limitless joy everywhere, always. Show me how. What happens when we make ourselves available to this energy of adoring is the divine will show us exactly where we are being invited to expand our ability to love unconditionally. And so I'm just asking it as a question for each of us. Where have I been being invited to expand my ability and willingness to love unconditionally? So anywhere that we feel that we've had any other human, we feel we've had any kind of struggle with, that's an invitation for unconditional love right there. And I'm going to share with you a true story, which, again, I don't know if I'm going to be able to say this one without crying, but I'll do my best. So this woman served in a nursing capacity as a birth coach. And she was watching the news, and she became aware that in a local prison, a woman had given birth, and the woman had been absolutely unattended. So the woman had given birth by herself in a jail cell, and there was a male guard present who just stood and looked at her, didn't say a word, didn't help at all. And so this woman said, we can do better than this. And so she formed a network of other people who also had nursing experience and birth coach capacity. And they started going into the prison and doing birthing classes for the women who were pregnant, who were in the prison. And this was a process that unfolded over the course of years. They helped hundreds of women. And then this woman, who had served in this capacity for many, many, many women over many, many, many years, was watching the news, and an item came on the news, and a young woman had tried to sell her unborn baby. because she was so addicted that she wanted what she needed to feed her addiction. So she had tried to sell her unborn baby, and she had been arrested. And this woman, whose heart had expanded enough to help hundreds of women over the years, realized her heart was closed in relation to this young woman. And she started praying. She was like, I hope I don't see her. I hope when I go to the prison tomorrow, I don't see her. I don't want to see her. I don't know how to love her. My heart is too hard to love her. I can't love her. I don't know how. God, I don't know what I'm going to do if I see her. And so this was how she was. She went to bed that night. You can tell in the story, I'm stepping out of the story, she's really wrestling with herself. It's not really the young woman she's wrestling with. It's really herself that she's wrestling with. She wakes up the next morning, she's still wrestling with herself. And she's still praying. She's like, I hope I don't see her. God, don't let me see her. I don't know what's going to happen if I see her. I can't do it. My heart's too hard. I cannot open my heart to this woman who tried to sell her unborn child. I don't know how to do it. And then she calls some friends. She said to her friends, will you pray for me? I need help. I'm having a really hard time opening my heart. I'm scheduled. I've got to go to the prison. I don't know what I'm going to do if I see this woman. Will you please pray for me? And then she said to the divine, if it's possible to open my heart, will you please open my heart? Because I can't do it on my own. So she went to the prison. She went through all the rounds of the prison. She's like, oh, thank God, not seeing the woman. Thank God, I'm almost out of here. I'm almost free at last. She's like literally about to walk out of the prison, and the guard says to her, so there's a young woman giving birth at the hospital right now. You're on. And she's like, and she realizes it's the woman who was arrested just the previous day for trying to sell her baby. And now she's in the hospital giving birth to this baby. And so she goes to the hospital. She packs clothing to give to the young woman. And she's walking through the hospital. I should set the scene here as well. She's walking through the hospital, and she's aware there's like a current of judgment and anger in the hospital. So like the nurses, the doctors, the orderlies, all the people working in the hospital. She's walking into this like corridor of judgment and anger as she walks down the hallway. And she's like not even in that young woman's room yet. She's very aware of this current of judgment and anger. And she stands there with her hand on the door, ready to walk in to where this young woman is. And she says to God, can you please open my heart? Because my heart is not yet open. And I know if anyone can open my heart, it's you, God. She opens the door, and she takes 3 steps across the room. And the divine, which is that voice that is beyond words, says to her, in her, I can love her. Can you? I can forgive her. Can you? And in those 3 steps, as she walks across the room, her heart is filled with unconditional love. And she just holds the girl. She just holds her. She holds her in her arms, and she loves her for 2 days while that young woman gives birth. And because she was able to hold her in that unconditional love, that woman trusted her. When the little baby was born, that woman said, can I hold her? Can I rock her? And that love was able to be passed between the mother and the little baby. And then the mother who had just given birth said, I want my child to grow up in safety. I want my child to grow up in love. I want my child to be taken care of. And so she willingly gave her child to a family that could help her daughter grow up in safety and could grow up in love. The woman who had helped with this birth kept it together until she got out of that hospital room and back into her car. And then she said as soon as she got into her car, she was feeling that energy of unconditional love that the divine had shared through her. And she sobbed harder than she had ever sobbed after any birth. What was being born then? I'm stepping outside of the story. What was being born then was her ability to love her terrified, unstable, out of balance self. It was not ever about the young woman. It was about her being able to love her self that had gotten unstable and terrified and out of balance and had caused harm. And that's what the divine is asking each of us to do. It's, can I love that aspect of myself that I seem to be having a hard time loving in the other? And when we do that, tears of relief will stream down our face because we're able to be with ourselves. It is never the other person that is terrifying us. It is never the other person that is actually the question. It is, can I love myself unconditionally? Whatever I seem to see in the other, can I love that in myself? When I love that in myself, what happens the way that Dr. King says it. I'm going to read it, and this is another thing that I probably can't say without crying about. What happens is reconciliation. What happens is redemption. What happens is the creation of the beloved community. It is this type of spirit and this type of love that can transform opposers into friends. The type of love that I stress here is not eros. It is not romantic love. It is not philia. It is not reciprocal love between personal friends. It is agape. It is unconditional love with understanding goodwill for all humans. It is an overflowing love which seeks nothing in return. It is the love of God working in the lives of humans. This is the love that may well be the salvation of our civilization. And each of us is asked to be this love. Dr. King also says that this understanding goodwill will transform the deep gloom of the old age into the exuberant gladness of the new age. It is this love which will bring about miracles in the hearts of humans. And each of us is this love in our eternal nature. And each of us is invited to radiate this love through our hearts, through our spiritual eye, through our solar plexus, exactly where we seem to have the hardest time seeing the divine. Right there is where we are invited to heal and to bring boundless compassion and to bring unconditional love. And when we are in contact with that energy, then we will be loving all of ourselves. Only when we love all of ourselves can we be always free in time and space. So we're eternally free always, but we will only be able to walk through every human experience in time and space if we are able to love and forgive and be that divine radiant joy for ourselves and for everyone, everywhere, always. Thank God, and God bless us all.